Hello and welcome to India on 99.94 Cricket Every Day. I'm Nikesh Ragani, commentator, and my co-host alongside me, Sarah Warris of Wisden. India on 99.94, remember, is your home for India content, and we'll be dropping onto your podcast feed on YouTube and on the 99.94 app 3 times every week, sometimes more, depending on whatever else there is to talk about in the world of India cricket, and there's always plenty to talk about. Thank you for joining Cricket's Conversation. This week, today rather, we are going to be discussing the India-Australia men's T20 series. India with a victory there after going 1-0 down, of course. And then what everyone is talking about, women's cricket was trending over the weekend, all thanks to Deepti Sharma. She should be given some sort of award for being an ambassador of the women's game after those exploits at Lord's. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we'll be discussing that and the back end of that series. Another famous series victory for India's women. Sarah, let's kick off then. Let's talk about the men first. We'll leave Deepti Sharma to one side at the moment. We'll all just gather our thoughts and calm down and be rational about everything that happened at Lord's. But India's men, 1-0 down against Australia, the world champions in T20 international cricket. We're heading into a World Cup on the horizon, and things seem to be shaping up quite nicely, at least from the batting perspective. I know there's been some concerns about the death bowling as well, but to come back, I mean, we were talking last time after the defeat in the first T20 to Australia, and again, the same old questions about death bowling and all those things. But they've come out in the next 2 matches, albeit one of them was an 8-over-a-side match because of all the rain in Nagpur. But they've done the business, haven't they? And they're shaping up very nicely ahead of that World Cup.
Yeah, the batting, even in the Asia Cup, the batting was never really the issue. So yeah, all good with batting. Hopefully, Virat Kohli now finding some sort of rhythm. Rohit Sharma getting that like those big aggressive knocks, and KL Rahul finding some sort of form. Bowling remains an issue, but in Australia, where the conditions will suit them a little better, I hope that they can do a little better than they did in the Asia Cup.
Yeah, and let's just talk about some of the batting heroics. Of course, look, we all know about Suryakumar Yadav and his exploits in recent times, or well, we say recent times, but particularly in India colours in recent times over the last year, 18 months since he's been a regular fixture in the Indian white ball setup. He's gone on a different level now, hasn't he? The rankings reflect that. The world rankings, of course, he's closing in on Mohammad Rizwan at the top of the batting rankings. Make of that what you will. Some people, don't like to look at those rankings and doesn't tell you everything you need to know, but it's certainly a good sign. And that innings that he played in that final T20, I mean, 69 off 36, that's what people see on paper if you haven't seen the game. But it was more than just 69 off 36 is fantastic. Whoever you are, you're striking at nearly 200 anyway, as it is. And in any game, that's going to be absolutely fantastic. But it wasn't just that. There was more to it than that. It was the confidence that he has, which we all know when he strides to the crease. But just the audacity of some of those shots, outstanding. I mean, aesthetically pleasing as well, just so beautiful to watch. And those lofted cover drives, the flicks, the extravagance, the follow-throughs, just everything about this man. He is a born entertainer, and it's such a shame that it's taken him so long to get to the international level.
Yeah, and the biggest thing about him is that he does it across opponents, across conditions. It's not that he's just a blind slogger. He has an average of 37 in T20Is with a strike rate of 174, which is shows that he does well. He gets the big runs and he gets them quickly, which is just what India for in the recent past they have struggled with that kind of a player in the middle order, the top order, not the like they've not always been the most fearsome, so to say. They've not had the highest strike rate. Finishers, yeah, but then that middle order always struggle to if the top order didn't bat at the required pace, and the middle order didn't really have a player who could just break the shackles. Now with Surya Kumar Yadav, he's just been phenomenal, and yeah, just taken to international cricket with such ease, and it's been a pleasure to watch him, and I would rate him currently as the best T20I batter in the world. I know Rizwan, Babar are there, but then their strike rate, it's always controversial. And yeah, I'm very impressed with how he's been going. Hope he can carry it on in the World Cup.
Yeah, and not just Sky. I mean, look, with KL Rahul failed in the final game, but we saw some glimpses from him through the series as well, that he can show that intensity and be that attacking player that we all know he can be at the top of the order, which he needs to be really if he wants a place in this side. So that's a good sign as well. And Rohit Sharma, look, we've seen this man do it for years and years and years, where we almost take it for granted just how good he is in that role at the top of the order. I mean, those pull shots and those sixes over mid wicket, wide long on, just absolutely fantastic. And yeah, we've seen it over the years, but he seems to be getting his mojo back. If you see what I mean, it's happening more consistently now, and just that little bit of form, that little bit of spark that maybe was missing in recent times. Yeah, the runs were still coming, but not in the same fashion. But when Rohit Sharma is almost playing pull shots at will, and yeah, he's the best puller of the ball in world cricket, but when he's doing it that consistently and that well and nailing them into the stands, 20 rows back, great signs. And he and Virat Kohli, the old guard, who I suppose, lots has been talked about, do they deserve a place in India's T20 side? I mean, you go back 12 months and there were people saying, look, thanks for the memories and all that, but time to step away from T20 cricket, give it over
I
to the
said that a few
youngsters.
months ago, so
You
yeah.
you said it specifically about Kohli and
Yeah.
even about Rohit as well in T20 internationals, but they've got their mojo back, and this is
Mm.
brilliant to see. And you need, I suppose the question is, you need those players, those senior players, those experienced players heading into a World Cup, don't you?
Yeah, and what's really striking about both of them is that they've been batting more aggressively of late. Like since the T20 World Cup, especially Rohit Sharma, the captain, he's been very vocal about how India need to change their approach in the shortest format. And yeah, he's not been getting the big runs. I think the 50 he got earlier in the series was his first 50 since the T20 World Cup last year. So yeah, he's been batting aggressively. He has a higher strike rate, and even in the last T20I yesterday, Kohli, he said that he was looking at Rohit Sharma or the dressing room, and just asking whether he should, go for the attack or play his natural game, which is, just getting the singles and hitting a six or a four off every 2 overs. And then later on, he revealed in the interview which he did that Rohit Sharma told him to just play his natural game. But if he would have wanted, he would have played more aggressively. So what's more striking is that the two senior pros, they are not willing to they're not willing, they are willing to just go after the shots and not just play the tuk game, as we say. So that's been more encouraging. Even being such senior pros, they are uh, changing their game and adapting to the new demands of what the team wants, which is more encouraging.
Absolutely, yeah. So the batting looking in good shape. I mean, we've talked about it before as well on previous episodes. Hardik Pandya coming in that finisher's role seems to be suiting him really well. DK hasn't had as much opportunity in the course of this series, but came in and scored 10 off 2 balls in the second game to win India that game as well. So proving his worth, I suppose, despite the lack of those opportunities as well. It's the bowling that I think we need to discuss, and I think maybe for this episode we don't focus as much on Boovy. We've talked a lot about Boovy. Look, he can be fantastic in the power play. He's not had a great series. He's not really the answer at the death. We've seen that across three different series now, and he's just not doing the business really. Akshar Patel, though, I want to focus on a positive. Obviously, it's great to see Bumrah back, by the way, as well. I know he was expensive in the final game, went for 50. It's not often you see Bumrah going for 50
Yeah.
off 4 overs, but he'll be back. I mean, it's just a rhythm thing with Bumrah. Let's talk about Akshar Patel then. So another 3 wickets in the final game. He's he's difficult to score off. He takes wickets. He can bowl in the power play. He can bowl in the middle. He can bat as well. Maybe not, at the top of the order, but he's very useful coming in at number 7. Can certainly do a good job. Can hit a long ball as well. And as we saw with the stats when we compared them in our previous episode between he and Jadeja across all T20s, he's actually got a better strike rate just about over his whole T20 career than Jadeja. The averages are very similar as well. Takes more wickets than Jadeja across T20s as well. Look, I'm not comparing the two just for the hell of creating controversy, but, left arm spinning all rounder, it's a natural thing to do. But just how good has he been and how valuable is he now to this T20 international side, just out of nowhere, really? So the comparisons between Akshar and Jadeja, of course, left arm spinning all rounders. So it's a natural comparison to make. But given the fact Jadeja's not there, just how valuable is Akshar Patel now to this Indian T20 side going into a World Cup? It's just around the corner. He's almost come out of nowhere. Okay, we know who he is and what he can do, but in terms of his place in the side and performing to this level, just how crucial is he now to India's chances of lifting that World Cup?
Yeah, I think just these two stats, like he had an economy rate of 6.30 in the T20I series against Australia. No other India bowler had an economy rate of less than 9. He picked up 8 wickets. No other India bowler had more than 2 wickets in the entire series. Just these two stats are enough to prove how crucial he's been for India. And yeah, what do you make of him? Like, I know you've been very impressed with Akshar Patel also. Do you think that we spoke about this before, that his fielding, batting, he's still to prove himself with the bat as consistently as Jadeja has done? But then do you see him as the regular number 7, or do you think India's batting can be a little weakened if, Akshar is there at 7, and probably they should play like, yeah, do you think he's fit at number 7? Or
Yes, I think he's a perfectly adequate number 7. Because look, if you're going to compare stats, and okay, stats don't always tell you everything, but he and Jadeja have both had incredibly long T20 careers, both domestically and internationally as well. Jadeja, obviously, with the more experience internationally, but they've both been on the scene for so long through the IPL and all that, and some would argue that IPL is, occasionally even better than international standard, depending on the season and whatever you look at. So it's certainly right up there with international standard, given the caliber of players playing in it year after year. And you look at all those stats, and Akshar Patel is not in second place to Jadeja. He's slightly ahead of him, in fact, in terms of strike rate and average and all those kinds of things. Takes more wickets, obviously, so the bowling side of it is covered. As a fielder, obviously Jadeja is the best in the world, and you can't argue against that. But given the stats that I mentioned last time, how many runs does he actually save you in a T20 international innings? Maybe, I mean, the official consensus is 0.86, but there are other factors to be taken into account. So his impact would probably be worth more than just 0.86. It might be worth 3, 4, 5 runs, and that could be crucial in a T20 match. But he gives you so much more with the ball, doesn't give you any less with the bat than Jadeja. And nobody would ever question Jadeja coming in at number 7 or sometimes even 5 in a T20 match. So why would you question somebody who's got a slightly better record across all T20s at a very high level as well, in terms of the competitions he's played in? I think he's perfectly adequate. And I suppose, look, we don't really want to see him getting that chance at number 7 through the next few games, because that will mean the top order is firing and doing their job. But maybe just in that South Africa series that is coming up, if there was one match where India were to lose 5 wickets, not early on, but sort of with at least 5-7 overs remaining, and we see what Akshar Patel is all about, maybe he can prove some of those doubters wrong. He's more than capable, more than capable. He's been used as a pinch hitter at the top of the order in IPL previously. He's batted anywhere in the top 7, apart from opening the innings, I believe. He's come in at number 3 on several occasions. He's batted all the way through that middle order for whichever franchise he's been involved in over the years. And I think he's perfectly adequate. And, gladly, I think people are showing him more respect now, given his exploits in this Australia series. I don't think the respect was always there. It was
Yeah.
always there from his teammates. He is one of the boys, and they love him being part of the group. They call him Bapu because he's from Gujarat, and the Mahatma Gandhi connection and all that kind of stuff. So there's good banter. He's always felt a part of the side in terms of the way the team is concerned, whether that be in tests or white ball cricket. But the fans haven't always kind of accepted him in this format as the answer. And look, he's had a few very good matches, and it doesn't mean that he's going to carry on doing this. So we've got to be careful about our expectations as
Yeah.
well. But he gives you a lot more than somebody like a Jadeja with the ball, and that is his primary job. So I reckon he should be in that side. And even if Jadeja is fit, there's an argument to keep Akshar Patel going
Yeah.
as certainly your all-rounder. But who knows, in Australia, do you think they go in with just one spinner, and it could just be Akshar Patel, and Yuzi Chahal might have to drop out? What do you think?
Yeah, Chahal, sometimes he had an excellent game yesterday. But just sometimes it feels like he doesn't have the skills to, bowl defensively. He is expensive on a lot of occasions. So, yeah, if the conditions aren't really helpful for spinners, um, India will probably go in with an extra pacer, or there's the option of Ashwin also. Ashwin didn't really play the T20I series. I think he's in the side just to, play against teams which have more left handers in the middle order. But I don't really think, I think he's good enough to play against right handers also. Like we've spoken about this before, that a good player is a good player irrespective of right handed, left handed, or wherever they bowl. You look at Bumrah, you don't really see that okay, he's good against left-handers. You get him against left-handers and etc. So Ashwin is experienced. He's been along for such a long time, and Chahal has been inconsistent also of late. Yesterday he had a good match, but then otherwise, uh, when he doesn't take wickets, he's always expensive. I'm not really very sure of the numbers, but just sometimes it looks as if he's just clueless and not really, doesn't really know what to do next if he's not getting wickets. So, and I won't really mind Ashwin coming in sometimes, just to surprise the opposition or whatever. And yeah, if Chahal, yeah, Akshar right now I would say is the first choice spinner. Chahal was for the longest time. But I think Akshar, with his performances, have, and because of the batting also, has edged ahead of Chahal, I think, in the pecking order for spinners.
Indeed. Right. We'll come to other matters in just a moment, but just a reminder, you're listening to Cricket's Conversation here on 99.94. Whatever your team, We'll have the show or podcast for you via YouTube, via your podcast provider, or on the 99.94 app. We've got, of course, ourselves with India. We've got England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka all covered. If you want to find the best way and the best content, really, that we've got to offer, you can follow us on social media. Just search for 9994DM, or you could just Google 99.94 and find us that way. We speak cricket, and as I say, we'll be here several times a week, not just ourselves, but everyone in the network from whichever team they are representing. Right, look, the men's team, obviously South Africa next, and they might experiment with one or two players, but it's just a chance really for players to cement themselves into that side and into the sort of the thoughts of the captain and coach as, yes, this guy will be in my first 11 for sure, and maybe that's another chance for somebody like an Akshar Patel or even a Yuzi Chahal to just have a great series and say, look, I'm still here. I'm still your number one spinner. So we'll wait and see how all that goes. But let's switch our focus now to India's women. First and foremost, what a series. What a win. 3-0 away in England. First ODI series victory in England since 1999. So this is before Julan Goswami made her international debut. That's how long ago it was. Mithali Raj made her debut in that series, I believe, in 1999. So a long, long time it has been. And it's, yeah, as we said, England were missing 2 or 3 key players, but they're still a very, very strong side, particularly on home soil. And India completely outplayed them. But what everyone is talking about is the finish to the third ODI at Lords. I'm sure you've all seen it. I'm sure you've all had an opinion on it. And look, Deepti Sharma decides to run out Charlie Dean at the non-striker's end. We won't use the other term, which disrespects a legend of Indian cricket. It was within the rules. It was getting very tight. I suppose that was maybe, look, with them being 9 down England and taking it so close and getting ever so close, once you get to less than 20 runs, it feels achievable for England to pull off this miraculous victory after looking completely all at sea just a few overs previous. And I suppose for the neutral, just to bring a bit of balance to the argument, for the neutral, they wanted to see it go down to the wire. They wanted that thriller, and it was a bit of a, all right, it's over. What happened
Yeah.
there? Oh, boo! We didn't get the thrilling finish that we all wanted. That could be the neutral perspective. Obviously, from an England point of view, they thought they had a chance then to win that game, and they would have been hugely disappointed. But it's not the first time we've seen this. Ashwin, obviously, we've mentioned on this podcast, had his opinion on it, and it was quite a funny tweet that he sent out. I mean, social media went into absolute meltdown, didn't it, after this moment? And it's the same thing every time it happens in a high-profile game. We've seen it at the Under-19 World Cup previously, involving the West Indies and Zimbabwe, that game, and Ashwin in the IPL against Butler. Every single time it happens, people lose their shit, don't they?
Yeah.
They lose their shit and they can't cope. And you're either so passionately on one side of the argument or so passionately on the other side. I'm going to ask you just briefly, I know where you stand on it, but just tell everyone else where you stand on it. This mode of
It's
dismissal.
it's in the law, it's legal. It's basically stumping at the non-strikers end. Like, you can see it that way. It's legal, it's in the rules. Well played, India. And yeah, that's my one line on it.
Yeah, and look, there's been so much said on it, and the reason I suppose we didn't immediately do a podcast on it is because emotions are running high. Look, everybody's had a chance to reflect on it, and people's opinions might not have changed, but the anger levels might have calmed down a little bit. It was just before we go into it in more detail. It was nice to see Charlie Dean. I don't know if you saw, she was playing at Lords the next day in the domestic final, the Rachel Hayho
Yeah.
Flint final, and she came on to bowl and she faked to basically do the run out at the non-striker's end, and the crowd enjoyed that. And maybe she was taking the piss, but maybe she was also just trying to draw a line there, break the ice, and say is what it is. And to be fair to her credit, she shook Dipti Sharma's hand
Mm.
immediately after this happened.
Yeah.
When India were declared winners, when it was the third umpire said that's out after the replays and all that, she shook hands, and that was very good of her to do. Back to the day though, Saturday, and what happened in the build up to that. There's some great threads on Twitter about, but from both sides, but in particular about why this is a problem, and why it was a problem on Saturday for India in terms of the non-striker backing up too far time and time again. And I believe it was on over 60 occasions, probably 67, I think.
Peter Della Pena, like I
That's
don't know if
that's
I'm,
the best thread.
yeah, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. He like he went back and he saw each and every delivery, and he said that she was out of a crease 73 times.
73, there you go.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so
So
73 times. And
and this,
some
yeah.
of it's not by a lot, but some of it was by 2 feet, which that is gaining a huge advantage. 24 inches. That it's a long way, and when you're batting with lower order players, you're looking to get back on strike and take those quick singles, and that could be the difference, those 2 feet, between being run out and being safe when you run those singles. So
Yeah.
look, first and
There were.
foremost, I hate batters taking an advantage, and I'm going to put all my cards out here. I've done this in junior cricket way before it was, popular. I was told back then that I had to warn the non-striker. The first time it happened was I was an under 11s player, so I was probably like 9 or 10, playing in under 11s club cricket, and we took it very seriously. It was to a high standard for that age group. And I was bowling, and the umpire was a coach from our team because we were playing at home. And after one over, he gave my cap back, and I said, "Have you noticed that the non-striker is backing up quite a lot? Like, a few yards down, literally." And he said, "Well, you can run him out." I said, "What do you mean? I didn't know about this. I was like 9 years old or whatever." And he said, "Well, you can run him out, but you have to give him a warning first," which I don't think you did, according to the laws, even back then. Um, but I just, took him at face value. So I gave the warning. And I don't think the non-striker knew what I was on about. I just sort of,
Mm.
stopped in my delivery stride, went back to the stumps, looked at him, and said, "That's a warning." And then the umpire said, "One warning for backing up." And I don't think the non-striker knew what the hell I was on about.
Yeah.
He was probably 9 years old and just thinking, this is what we do, right? And then the next ball, he did the same, and I ran him out. And that was that, really. I just continued. I didn't do it all the time because batters didn't back up all the time out of their crease when I was in my delivery stride. But it's happened on several occasions through age group cricket, and I've never been sorry about it. And I suppose
Mm.
the reason why I was never sort of stigmatized for it is because I gave the warning, and that was the seen as the friendly thing to do. But I only gave the warning because I thought that's what you had to give a warning. And then I even spoke to my dad about it, and he was under the impression that, yeah,
Mm.
you give a warning because it's the gentleman's game, and all that, as it was back then. And obviously we're talking about women's cricket now as well, but it's just that sort of old school term of sports, being a good sport,
Mm.
basically sportsmanship, spirit, and whatever. And it was just almost assumed that you had to give a warning. Now, everybody has known for some time now that you don't have to give a warning. You can, and a lot of people are of the opinion you should. But this is international cricket you're talking about here.
Yeah.
You should know the basics. I mean, all right, I understand in age group club cricket when you got this poor 9-year-old who doesn't quite know the rules. So you give them a warning and say, "Look, don't do that next time, otherwise you'll
Mm.
be out." And they're like, "All right," because you don't want them running off crying, and it's understandable. You just want to
Yeah.
give people opportunities. This is international cricket or IPL cricket we're talking about, or under 19 international cricket that we've talked about in the past. This is high level, top level cricket, you should know to stay in your crease, surely, right? Or, you
Yeah.
know, at least stay near enough so that if they are going to do that, you quickly get back in, a couple of inches or whatever. But you watch the ball come out almost, and that's how
Yeah.
it should be. We've seen screenshots, haven't we, of say
Hmm.
Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
He almost watches each delivery come out of the bowler's hand, and surely they should, batters should know about this by now. Really, you're putting yourself. It doesn't matter what the morals are of the opposing team. You take that the mode of dismissal out by
Yeah.
just doing what you can to avoid it. You might say Dipti Sharma is a bad sport. You might say India are a bad sport. They're certainly not cheats, by the way, because it's within the laws. But you might have opinions on all that kind of stuff. So what? You're going to play against people who you might think shouldn't be doing a certain thing or whatever. But if it's in the laws, it can happen. It will happen at some stage if you keep doing what you're doing, which is taking your bat and your feet out of that popping crease and gaining an advantage. Just do what you can do to avoid that dismissal, and
Yeah.
it won't happen. Simple as that. Forget about the morality and all that of the opposing side. You take all that out of the equation by just, it's the risk management, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just don't
And
don't don't give
yeah.
them the opportunity.
Yeah, you are not warned for, stumping the wicket keeper doesn't come and tell you, hey, you're out of your crease. The next time you do it, I'm going to, dismiss
Yeah.
you. So this is in the laws. It's in the laws. And yesterday, the MCC, they released a statement which said that, it is the initiative. This is not the exact quote, but, something like this, that it's the initiative of the non-striker to stay in the crease till the ball is released, which again, it's on the non-striker, as you said, that this is what they can do. There are screenshots of Kohli, just watching the ball intently till its release and then taking the single. So if the best player, arguably the best player in the world, can do it, then why isn't it there? Like, why can't the others also do it? And also, yes, like, if you go back and see the clips of the match, there were instances when, Renuka Thakur is bowling and Charlie Dean was out of a crease by a long margin. Obviously it's tougher for a fast bowler to, pause and then take off the bails. But Dipti Sharma was fielding nearby, and probably it was like she was keeping an eye on the fact that Dean is not in her crease. And then when she came on to bowl, before that dismissal, Harmanpreet Kaur signaled to her and said, can you please, like, you can dismiss her. Like, she just signaled with her hand, took her hands behind and said that, just take off the bails. So as I said, 73 times she was out of a crease, and you get warned if it's once or twice, but you're doing this repeatedly for the whole match. So,
And
you
also, by
you
the
should
way,
remember
just
it.
just
Yeah.
before you continue, sorry to interrupt, but on that point, you get warned. Dipti Sharma has come out since
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
has been quoted as saying that we did warn her. It might not have been an official, like in the delivery stride and then feign to take the bails off and go through that whole motion, but somebody has gone up to her and said, by the way,
Hmm.
it doesn't have to. So what is a warning? Because you don't officially have to warn these batters officially, like, and by that I mean in the umpire's presence, while you're in the delivery stride, while you're going through that motion and that exact movement. It doesn't have to be like that because that's not in the laws. You don't even have to warn them at all. But
Hmm.
if you're bringing people's sort of, sporting nature into this and their morality into this, well, she's saying actually we did warn her. So they must have, somebody or Dipti herself or somebody must have gone up to her at some point out in the field and said, by the way, this is what you're doing. So,
There's
don't be
another
trying to
thing on
steal
that.
singles, otherwise we'll run you out.
Yeah, I just saw another tweet, which is, the breaking news I had to do was Heather Knight has just come out and said that the Indian team have been lying, that they were lying about, issuing the warning. So shots are fired. So we don't really know who's
So
right and who's not.
Look, I Heather
Yeah, but
Knight's,
Heather Knight wasn't
yeah, she
playing
wasn't
really,
there.
you know. Yeah,
She's a
she
friend of
wasn't there.
mine, and we've been colleagues and stuff on commentary, and I respect her highly, but she wasn't there.
Yeah, she
So
wasn't there. Yeah.
obviously she's going by what she's being told by her players and stuff, her
Hmm.
teammates, but she wasn't there. She wasn't at the ground. So I, certainly wasn't out on the field. So I suppose the only person who knows whether it's a lie or not is Charlie Dean herself, or
Yeah.
maybe whoever the non-striker was, or sorry, her partner was at that time out there in the middle at the time it was said or supposedly said. We don't know if it was said. It might be a lie, it might not be, but we
Yeah.
can't say. Dipti
But then,
Sharma is
yeah.
saying, we're just reporting that she's saying that the warning was given. Obviously Charlie Dean has sort of reported
Hmm.
back that it wasn't. So yeah, shots are fired in that regard, and who
Yeah,
knows,
but then
right?
a warning isn't really necessary. Like, in my
Exactly.
opinion, I don't think, like, people say this is a sportsman, like, s- be a sport and give the
Yeah,
warning.
it's hard,
But
isn't
then
it?
why?
When
It's, yeah,
yeah,
it's in the law. It's like, okay, like, why should the bowler all day anyway have it tough in the sport? And then, the batter, they just have to keep an eye on the ball and just look at when the ball is released. It's as simple as that. And like, I don't know what the big issue is in this and why it becomes a controversy every single time, and why a warning needs to be given also, because it's in the law, it's one of the laws, and you're not warned, as I said, for, a stumping or anything else. So just regard this as just another dismissal, and yeah, just remove the stigma that comes off it, and
you
it
see,
won't
the problem is
yeah.
that the MCC for so long had it in the unfair play section
Hmm.
of
Yeah,
their
yeah.
laws, and is still not officially out of that until October the 1st, when they move it into
Yeah.
the run out section, which is
Hmm.
stupid. I mean, look, I might get a lot of
Yeah.
shit for this, but why are the MCC still in charge of the laws of the game? They don't run the game, do they? Should be the ICC, surely, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's another thing which, all right, thank you very much,
Hmm.
MCC, for everything you've done and not done
Hmm.
as well. There's been a lot of controversy over the MCC over years, but why is this club in London in, that's all they are
Hmm.
really. They're the oldest club, but they're a
Yeah.
club in London who's in charge of the laws of the game. Yeah, they've got a committee of ex-players and ex-international players and all that to discuss all this. Just bring it under the ICC and
Just another
get away
bizarre
from it and just
rule.
simplify
Yeah.
everything. I think because for so long it was in the unfair play thing, so
Hmm.
everybody think, oh well, this is not sporting. This is not we shouldn't be playing cricket like this. Just modernize everything, modernize everything, make it simple to understand that this is black and white. There are some grey areas in cricket. It's cricket, right? It's a complicated sport, but this shouldn't be. This
Yeah.
should not be a grey area. This, yeah, there's the delivery stride, the point of release, all that kind of stuff, which can be a grey area, but there are ways to simplify it. Look, just stay in your crease till the
Hmm.
ball's delivered.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
Simplify
it's,
it like
yeah.
that,
Just
and it's
change
done.
the wordings. Yeah, that
And
till the
don't
ball
call
is
it a
released, you're in
munkad.
your stu. Yeah.
Don't call it a
That's
munkad.
there.
Vinu Munkad
Hmm.
was one of the greatest all rounders in the world of his time. I tweeted
Yeah.
about this as well. I get so angry when they call it this. All these jokers around the world just call it a munkad. It's not a munkad.
Sure.
He made it famous because he was probably innovative in 1947, where he thought, you know what, I'm going to do this. And he did it against Australia. And Don Bradman, who was captain
Hmm.
of Australia in 1947, defended him and blamed his own teammate for going out the crease, and sort of praised Vinu Munkad for being so innovative in the way that he effected that dismissal. And 44 test matches, Vinu Munkad, in that era when India were rubbish and nowhere on the world stage. And he's got what, over 2,000 runs, 5 centuries. He's got 162 or 163 wickets. in those 44 test matches, bowling average and batting average, both in the low 30s, which for that time and in that India side, he's got 184 at Lords, his top score. This man was a genius of his time, really, of Indian cricket.
Yeah.
So put some respect to his name. Don't call it a monkard. I mean, we can't stop people doing that. Unfortunately, there's no law that, but it's just stupid, isn't it? Just to,
Yeah.
and it's the negative connotations that go with it when they say monkard. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, you did that, what this unsporting fellow did back in 1947. Well, Don Bradman, who the West considers as, and everyone in the world considers him the greatest of all time. But do you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
the English public, if they do respect any Aussies, it's people like Don Bradman. And if somebody like that, the greatest batter in the history of the game at the time, who was the opposing captain, praised this man for his ingenious thinking in running out the non-striker, then why has it been so negatively perceived over so many years? We will never know. But look, we've run out of time on this
Just
episode.
one, like before
Go
we
on, just
sign
before.
off, just on a very funny note, I don't know if you've seen the movie Lagan. In the movie Lagan, there was
Revenge.
this dismissal. Yeah, there was this dismissal where
Was that Yardley, the bowler, or someone like that? I can't remember the
really
names.
remember
It might have been
the movie,
Yardley.
but yeah. So if it happened in movie Lagan, it's okay if it happens in international cricket.
It's revenge for 1893.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're not going to forget Julan Goswami, by the way. Everyone's screaming at your screens or your phones right now. We're going to save that for a special episode on Julan Goswami, the legend of Indian cricket, the greatest bowler that the women's game has ever seen. The stats would certainly suggest that. And what a way to go out, really. Of course, controversy around that final wicket, but victory at Lords after 2017, after being on the losing side in that World Cup final, to then go there again, and the next time to win a series, to end your career, clean sweep, fantastic scenes, emotional scenes, and we'll discuss that all in more detail this week in another episode, just dedicated to the one they call Juludi. So look forward to that one as well. But that's all we've got time for on this one. We've gone on a little bit longer than we wanted to, but as to be expected with all the controversy. So thank you for listening, and do join us next time.